Hey there, nation. Welcome to the show. We help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander CheapSkate, and now it's time for another edition of A Brush with Death. In fact, this is pretty much our very last episode. This is episode number 6, because now, as you can see, as this video is kind of scrolling by, we have a full 3,000 point Vampire Counts army for Warhammer Fantasy Battle that we could also use for Age of Sigmar. Same thing with 9th Age if we ever decide to get back into it, or any other kind of fantasy war game that we really want. So this is what 6 months above work kind of looks like, with 3,000 points of undead. So the last time we worked on the Brush with Death, we've already covered the last bit of our armies. We talked about our Crypt Horrors, we've talked about our Crypt Ghouls, as well as our huge horde of 60 zombies. We also talked about our Corpse Cart Rolling Bones. We talked about the Mortis Engine, the Calliope of Chaos, and then we also looked at Volkar, the Beast of Bloodvault, which is our homemade Terrorgeist that we created. So with that being said, now ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about the last 3 items that we've added to this army list. That list is, of course, our unit of 10 Hex Wraiths. So these guys here. Our homemade Coven Throne, as you can see with this kit here. We'll talk about how we made making that kit. And the very last thing we're going to talk about as well is our unit of 10 Black Knights. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let's go and talk about exactly how we made those 3 units and conclude our Brush with Death series. Alright, the very first thing we're going to talk about is our unit of Hex Wraiths, as well as our 10-man unit of Black Knights. And the reason why we're talking about these 2 units at the same time is because with the old kits that you used to get to make Hex Wraiths or Black Knights, what ended up happening is they actually gave you enough kits to actually make 2 units if you're being a little creative with it. So let's grab one of my Hex Wraiths real quick. Grab this guy here, and we'll grab one of my Black Knights. We'll grab this guy right over here. Actually, that's one guy. Let's grab this guy here, the Battle Standard Bearer. Okay. So we're going to talk about exactly how you go about making these guys real quick. So as you can see, if you look at the side here, to make this unit, what would happen is that Games Workshop, when they created this unit, you actually have enough kit to create the Hex Wraith Rider, as you can see here. So that's one part you can make. But to make a Black Knight, what you would do is you would take this skeletal horse here. If you look real closely, you can see the barding on this miniature here that's done out in silver. You would take that barding and it had legs on it like this for the Black Knight, and you glue it on top of the Hex Wraith miniature on the skeletal horse. And then you take the torso as well as the arms on the Black Knight miniature and then glue it on top, and that's how you create Black Knights. If you want to create Hex Wraiths, all you would do is you'd keep this kit off to the side and then just mount the Hex Wraith Rider right on top of the skeletal horse. So if you're really creative, what you could actually do is actually make 2 units out of one kit. Make one with a Hex Wraith, and then take the barding in the legs as well as the torso and the arms of the Black Knight, and if you have spare cavalry models like I have over here, you could just do that real quick. And that's exactly what I did in this kit as well. So as you can see, I decided to concentrate my 10 Hex Wraiths. Just made those guys real quick. It was pretty simple to paint these guys up. Let's take a look at this guy real quick. All I did is I spray painted the entire unit with flat white spray paint. And then what I did is I washed the entire miniature in Nihilak Oxide, which is made by Citadel Paints. It's the one that I kind of used to, gives it kind of like a bluish kind of tinge color to it. Right after I did that, of course, I then covered the entire miniature with a little mixture of some Coila Grease shade with some Lamia Medium, so that way it can kind of thin out to get some shades. And then I coated the entire thing in Weight Watcher Green, and that's how you got this kind of glowing effect going on here with this ethereal look for the rider here. And then, of course, what I did is I then picked out all the pieces that are metal with metal paint, and then, of course, I painted the scythe. The flames, I used the Kiwi color, which is a bright green paint that's made by Apple Barrel Crates. You can get that at Walmart to pick out the flames, and then coat the entire thing in oil wash, which is basically just a 3-to-1 ratio of mid-wax Mission Oak Polyshade with paint thinner, and then, of course, hit it with some matte varnish and then basted it. And that's how I went about creating my 10 Hex Wraiths. Pretty simple build right there to do that. So very quick. I was really astonished how quickly it took to paint all 10 of these guys. It was very fast. Now my Black Knights, these guys were a little bit different, because as you can see in this one here with this miniature, what I had to do is I had to create mounts for the Black Knights to ride on. And so I took the barding and mounted on that. And to do that, what I had to do is take some leftover kits that I had of various mounts. As you can see for this one, for example, I took some, I also had to do some creative manipulating. I took some parts of horses, mixed it with some dryad branches, because if you look real close, these guys are covered in these like branches and vines. So I thought it'd be kind of cool to have their mounts kind of have the same kind of look to it. You know, I took bits and pieces of old Empire Knight horses that I had, like this one, for example. I had to shave down the flanks of these miniatures so that way the barding from the Black Knight would fit on it. And of course, that's how I did that for all of them. So as you can see, I got riders in the back. I also have looks like some that are coming out of the ground because these things are supposed to be popping out of the ground. Also added some more branch wraiths, some dryad branches to some of these miniatures to make it look like they were, you know, coming out of the woodwork. So you can see like that one, for example. That's one that has it. Then what I decided to do is I pretty much did the same kind of concept with painting up these miniatures as I did with my hex wraiths. What I did is I spray paint these entire miniatures down with white flat spray paint, and then what I did, of course, is then I did wash them with dialect oxide as well, and then I also used a little bit of Coyle green, some Drakenhof Nightshade, mixed with some Lamia medium to do the shading, and then I coated the entire thing in Gulliman blue, which is a glaze to give them this kind of like sky blue, kind of glowing blue type of look. Now, of course, the next thing I did, of course, I painted all the miniatures up with a metal. I used steel metal for that part. And then what I did is to create this rusted effect, I then covered the metal over with a thin layer of Gulliman blue to make it have like this kind of residual glowing effect. And then after that, I picked out the branches and stuff with the same green kiwi color that I used for the flames of the hex wraiths. And then, of course, I used a oil wash, 3 parts poly shades from Midwax with 1 part paint thinner, and covered it over, and then sprayed with matte varnish, and then bam, 2 units, Black Knights as well as hex wraiths. Very, very fun little units to create real fast, and they're really cool to look. And you can also make 2 kits out of 1 if you're pretty creative enough. So with that being said, ladies, we're going to talk about our Coven Throne real quick, and then that will conclude our series of A Brush with Death. Okay, so the very last thing we're going to talk about, of course, is our Coven Throne. As you can see, it's kind of like a really cool looking miniature that we made. The Coven Throne, the interesting thing about this kit is that the parts that go to make the Coven Throne are actually leftover kits from the Mortis engine, alright? So the idea is supposed to be that you have the Spirit Host, and then with the carriages, instead of having this Mortis engine piece, you'd actually put the Coven Throne, which is represented by these guys, on top of it. But the problem was, though, I had all this leftover kit, and I felt like I could create a Coven Throne if only there was a way to kind of make it happen. And I was actually kind of lucky at this part because the idea kind of came to me kind of quickly. I was on the Games Workshop website, and I saw the Mage Wrath Throne, and I remembered from the old, what's it called, Storm of Magic campaign setting. That was one of the old Terrain pieces they had. And I said this would make a perfect Coven Throne, because all you really need to do is, like as you did with this model here, I took an old piece of plastic card to mount it on, and then mounted the Mage Wrath Throne on top of it, and then of course I put the 3 vampiresses, the 3 riders, on top of it, painted them up and mounted them on there. And then to create the Spirit Host that you see on the Mortis engine like that, all I did is I bought some mini Reaper Mini Bone skeleton wares from Reaper Minis. From their bone lines, you get like a pack of 3 for like $2 or $3, depending where you get it at. And of course I use the same blue painting technique that I use for my Black Knights to create the skeletons. And it's all interesting enough to mention is because I use this green method here to paint up my hex wraiths. I use on my Mortis engine as well. It's kind of like gives the idea that you got 2 different units, like you know, to help out with things like Age of Sigmar if I want to do something like that. And of course I paint up their metal with the steel, and of course I use the oil wash to do it. Same thing with the 3 vampiresses, as you can see. These are the 3 ladies that usually ride the Coven Throne as well. I painted their dresses in a bright red because, you know, blood red, and it makes it look kind of interesting and pop. I painted their vests as well as some of their accoutrements with shades of teal as well as purple and some pink. And of course the hair I just kind of left gray because that looked kind of scary as well. The Mage Wraith Throne, as you can see, Wrath Throne rather, I painted it black, back basing, and then of course I dry brush it with lighter shades of gray, starting with dark gray all the way to lighter shades of gray. And of course I washed the entire miniature down in that, once again, that polyurethane, that Midwax poly shade mission note color with 3/4 of that with 1/4 paint thinner, and then sprayed the entire thing with matte varnish and basted it. And that's where it came out looking like. So it's pretty impressive. I really like the way it came out. You got 3 riders as well as a whole horde of skeleton warriors to represent the Spirit Host as well. So got that completed too. So by making 2 kits, 2 units out of 1 kit. So that's going to do it for this one, ladies and gentlemen. As you can see, this is our very last video for our Brush with Death. This is our 3,000 point undead army for vampire accounts. It was a very long road to paint all this up, but it is time well spent because as you can see, this army looks absolutely beautiful, and we can start filling in our battle reports and start using it there as well. All right, you guys, that's going to do it for this one. As always, please feel free to comment, like, and or subscribe. Your guys' input is invaluable as always. Also, check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Google+, as well as Blogger for all the latest and greatest with our hobby. In fact, if you followed those other sites, you would have seen the progression of these miniatures as time went on because we posted up there as well. All right, you guys, that's going to do it for this one. We will catch you guys in the next one. You guys, peace out.